Journalist Owen Jones. He faced the mob too. This is his take of the week.
On Monday, you are a traitor! Here in the leafy environs of College Green, a sorry bunch of fascists.
Answer the question! Come on, we'll have a chat!
And please, can we stop calling them pro-Brexit protesters?
Liar! 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 Liar!
Millions of decent Leave voters have nothing to do with these pound-shop black shirts.
Why are you special that you shouldn't be confronted by the public, Anna?
Tried harassing me.
You're a tampon!
Angry, aren't they? A tampon! I'm a tampon!
Anna Soubry.
Soubry is a Nazi! Soubry is a Nazi! La, 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 la.
The campaigner Femi Olawale.
You just called me David Lammy.
Oh, what's it? Cultural appropriation? Who are you, you mug? No one. Now listen.
And the journalist Kay Burley.
Two liars on Sky News!
And Dawn Foster.
Stick your flag with stars on your arse!
Much of the media's outrage this week has focused on abusiveness, nasty words, and the rights and wrongs of protest. Our focus should be on the rise of fascism, aided and abetted by the mainstream media. And it's also notable that when privileged white people like myself are attacked, it becomes headline news. But what about members of minorities who have been enduring this sort of abuse on the streets for so many years?
Look at these lovely people.
Keep going.
Traitor!
Secondly, outrage came from the same right-wing press which has normalised the language of the far right, enemies of the people, crush the saboteurs, traitor. Now, Anna Soubry was called a Nazi and a traitor. Guess which newspaper called her a traitor last year?
Oh yeah? Lovely lot!
Come on, answer the question.
Yet ever since Monday, the media has tried to conflate this far-right harassment with all forms of protest and peaceful civil disobedience, attacking the left in the process. The far-right is a menace because its supporters abuse and assault minorities, have killed a Labour MP, have tried to kill another Labour MP, have conspired to murder Jeremy Corbyn and Sadiq Khan, and have been responsible for numerous foiled terror plots. The far right is a real and present murderous threat. The left is not. So how did we end up with this sorry state of affairs? Well, when you combine austerity, a broken social order rigged in favour of the powerful, all of which denies ordinary people a decent and secure existence, with a right-wing press which tells them to blame benefit claimants, Muslims, refugees, immigrants, anybody but those at the top. Well, what did the Westminster elite expect to happen?
Why do you write fake news?
Why do I wait for...
Why do you write? Why do you write?
Why are you
misleading articles? Listen, you are a horrible little liar. Horrible little liar. So how many people attended the Brexit
It's brutal out here.
How many?
Look at them.
Look, you can't even answer.
And Owen Jones joins us now. Before I turn to Michael and Liz, I watched the whole of that tape or video, and I was appalled by it. But I must say, you handled it with huge courage and dignity.
Honestly, you just can't let yourself be intimidated by these people.
Well, and you weren't. Let me turn to Michael. So is the rise of the far right the real threat, and is it being fuelled by the media?
I mean, the people we see there are obviously appalling people, but it seems to me that they're quite a small minority, and that if you look more broadly, a couple of other things are apparent to me. One is, and I think this is because we've had a referendum in this country, there has been a safety valve. People have been allowed to speak. So that the last election, 84% of the population voted for the two mainstream parties. There was no right-wing vote of significance in this country whatsoever. This is in a great contrast to Germany, Italy, France, Spain, etc. So the safety valve has been there. The second thing is that although what we see there I think is deeply worrying, it doesn't in any way relate to organised politics. Whereas the anti-Semitism of the Labour Party is clearly endemic in the Labour Party. The Jewish people have received no apology from the Labour Party. They are outraged by Jeremy Corbyn's positions and the statements he's made. And I think if we're going to start to root things out from politics, that's probably where we ought to start.
Let me get on to respond to that, and then I'll ask Liz for her take.
Well, firstly, if we look at the far right in this country, as I've said, Joe Cox was murdered by the far right. Another Labour...
Well, one individual of the far right.
Well, yes, a member of the far right murdered
right.
Another former member of the leader of BNP Youth tried to kill another Labour MP. Darren Osborne, a far right terrorist, came to London, rammed his van into a mosque and said he was there to try and kill Jeremy Corbyn and Sadiq Khan as terrorist supporters. There were 4 or 5 failed far right terror plots last year, which thankfully did not succeed. A 36% increase in far right referrals.
Owen,
but just on this,
Owen, of course, all mainstream politicians are against that. Let me just make this point, Owen. All mainstream politicians are against that. When Conservative members of Parliament were being murdered by the IRA, when the IRA attempted to kill the Prime Minister of this country, Jeremy Corbyn was sympathetic to the IRA.
Right, and do you know what?
The IRA was invited. The IRA was invited to the House of Commons by Jeremy Corbyn.
I'm not going to rerun the smears of the last general election campaign, which the public
these are not smears.
Soundly rejected.
They
did not support the IRA's violent campaign. The leadership of Sinn Féin made that clear. Talking to Sinn Féin, who ended up as part of a peace process, governing with the DUP,
no one's going to
was the right thing to do. Now, in terms of no, I've got to take you up on the Conservative Party's pandemic racism, and you'll let me finish. Because you're right, anti-Semitism needs to be driven out the left. It is a disgusting disease wherever it manifests itself and has no place whatsoever within the left or anywhere, frankly, for that matter. But that point you just made, the immigrant scapegoating and demonising of Conservative politicians led to the hostile environment. The hostile environment led to black Britons being denied healthcare, being kicked out of their homes, and dozens of them being deported from this country. That was a racist policy instituted by your party. I'm not taking lessons from that. And I have to say on that, over the last few years, what we've seen is the scapegoating by mainstream politicians and much of the media of immigrants for all the crimes and injustices caused by the powerful, the lack of affordable housing, the lack of secure jobs, stagnating living standards, the public services that migrants depend on. The absolute cornerstone of far-right politics is to scapegoat minorities, demonise them for all the problems in society. And when we see now the revival, the rise of Tommy Robinson, which has captured UKIP and which is poised to benefit from a so-called Brexit betrayal sentiment in this country, and they are, we're talking about viral online, and the strength of that is very, very frightening indeed. That has everything to do with the systematic demonising of Muslims and refugees by much of the mainstream media and by the Conservative Party as well.
I think Owen is absolutely right to raise serious concerns about the rise of the far right. And one of the things that shocked me this week was how some pretty mainstream Conservative commentators said, oh, this is terrible, this of youth, but Anna Soubry and others shouldn't be surprised at unleashing this ugliness because they're trying to overturn the referendum. First of all, these people are trying to hijack Brexit. They don't care about that. They're racist and they're anti-Muslim. And secondly, to suggest that because people have profound disagreements, they are actually forcing people into violence and intimidation is wrong. And I think I hear from my local police who are involved in something called Prevent. They tell me they have as many, if not more, referrals about the far right than they do about Islamic extremism.
Owen himself is guilty of the thing about which he makes an accusation. In other words, he takes an incident outside the House of Commons. He takes, the rise of some very nasty people. And he takes that and then he tries to smear the entire Conservative Party with that. Now, this is the breakdown of decent discourse. It is absolutely outrageous what you say. And I think many people will be shocked because the fears that people have had about immigration are indeed what lay behind, I dare say, why many people voted for Brexit. And one of the reasons they did that was that for years and years and years, when they expressed a fear about the pressure on jobs or schools or social services or the health service, someone like you would come along and say that these people were racist.
No, it didn't.
And that they were anti-Muslim and that they were trying to drive black people out and that they were making a racist case. And people have heard you again this evening and they'll think, oh my goodness, well look, I have some concerns about immigration, and here's this fellow trying to tell me that anybody who has that view is part of some kind of right-wing conspiracy. Not only have you learnt nothing, you are now trying to smear lots of decent people from the Conservative Party upwards and downwards.
I grew up in a community which voted to leave the European Union. The people I grew up with voted to leave the European Union. In no way am I doing that. Now, in terms of what I just said, and I want a direct answer from you, did not the relentless scapegoating of migrants for everything, not problems caused by them, the failure to build housing, the failure to protect living standards, which have fallen for the longest period in this country of any industrialised country other than Greece, did that not lead to a hostile environment where black Britons, who are citizens of this country, were kicked out of their own country and thrown out on the street? Is that not racism? And I'd ask you, if not, why not?
By whom is this scapegoating supposedly done? You're referring here to the Windrush thing, are you?
Is that yes, quite self-evidently. I'm shocked if you don't realise that's what we're talking about. It's one of the greatest scandals of our time. Michael? I don't understand why you don't know what we're talking about here.
Well, look, I'm not even a member of the Conservative Party, but the Conservative government and the Home Secretary of the day resigned over that issue.
Well, no, she didn't resign over that. She resigned over not telling the truth to Parliament. It's not true she resigned over the Windrush scandal. Carry on.
Well, it was in connection with the Windrush scandal, was it not?
Not to do with the people.
And then, by the way, an inquiry into that discovered that she was indeed in ignorance of the policy that was being followed, and that she had not herself understood that she was misleading.
Let me come back.
So, I don't think you have a case there.
All right, let me come back to this issue of the rise of the far right. There is no question that there's been more activity from the far right, more thuggery. We've seen that. Some will say there was also been a rise of more on the hard left as well. But I would suggest to you it's still very much on the margins. They make have an impact because they're violent. They did to you what happened there. But compared with the national rally in France, 33% of the vote last year, the AfD in Germany, they got 93 seats in the Bundestag. That would be like the hard right having 60 seats in the British Parliament as opposed to none. The Lega in Italy, they're in government. Vox in Andalusia, they got 12% of the vote. I mean, they're nowhere here compared to that.
I think, I'm afraid you make the case for me. Vox in Spain is a striking example. Spain was the only major Western country on the continent where the far right was not a political force. That changed a few months ago with their breakthrough in Andalusia.
Yeah, but it hasn't happened here.
Well, actually, that's not true in the sense UKIP have now been taken over.
They have no seats in Parliament.
They're being taken over. Well, it's because of our electoral system. You know that full well. Tommy Robinson's faction...
they've got 3% in the polls.
Am I going to finish the point?
I'm just putting some facts to you.
A few months ago, they soared to 8-9%. In the context of a sense, because one of the things that unites this country, particularly many Brexit voters, is the sense that Theresa May's deal is a terrible deal. That sense of Brexit betrayal is what UKIP are poised to... and just quickly on this...
But they haven't done it yet.
On this, look, this is what is frightening for me. If you look, for example, at anti-Muslim bigotry, which is what Tommy Robinson, and he has a huge online presence, hundreds of thousands of people share his stuff in Britain, if not more. What he's feeding on is something fed by the press. So when it says, for example, on the front page of Daily Express, Muslims say to British, go to hell. When the Times falsely says that a Muslim child, a Christian child was taken against their will in a foster child, which was corrected. When the front, just quickly, when the front page of the
think it's all been caused by the media.
Newspaper says 1 in 5 Muslims in Britain support
you've made that point. So if that's the case, if the media is complicit, what was the German media that fueled the rise of the AfD?
Well, again, you've got to look at each particular context.
What was the French media that fueled the rise of the National Front?
There is, in all of these countries, there are forms of racist media which have scapegoated migrants,
not mass media,
and immigrants. But all of them have obviously have racism that is endemic. The issue is, just quickly, the issue is when racism exists, we know it exists in every country. Clearly, when mainstream outlets, day in, day out, say things about Muslims, about refugees, about migrants, blaming them for all the problems of society. So again, I ask you, if the media is complicit, what was the mainstream media that did this in France or Germany?
Well, again, I mean, in all of these contexts...
So it might not be the media.
Well, Andrew, just quickly on that. Anna Soubry was called a traitor. I was called a traitor. When a far-right fanatic killed Joe Cox, they said, death to traitors. Traitor, enemies of the people, crush the saboteurs, all of which end up on the front page of newspapers and then are regurgitated by these people. Of course, in each country,
There is specific
All
global
right.
context.
Let me ask you one other point. We're almost run out of time, so I want to ask you another question. Well, I'm many things, Owen Jones, but I'm not naive.
You are. Well, no, can we just say The Spectator is a classic example?
Yeah, I knew you were going to bring that up, and I won't let you hijack that.
No, it's not about hijacking, it's about The Spectator.
Your smears and lies about me are not going to be dealt with tonight, so just move off it.
We're going to talk about the media.
I'm not going to let you hijack the BBC to do this. It's got nothing to do with it. What I want to ask you is this. When the far right behaves appallingly, that's thuggery. But when the far left does it, that's activism. I don't understand the difference.
No, I will finish what I was going to say about Spectator.
No, you won't.
Well, you will.
Because it's not right for you to take the BBC
that
to do
magazine
something
has
that has got nothing to do with the BBC.
It has defended Greek neo-Nazis.
No, it
has
hasn't.
published an article. Yes, it has. Everyone.
And by the way, the editor is responsible.
In defence of the Wehrmacht. You're the
why don't
chairman.
you answer my question?
You're the chairman of The Spectator.
I'm not responsible for the content. Answer my question.
There wasn't enough Islamophobia in the Conservative Party. That's what we're dealing with in The Spectator, like other newspapers.
All right.
Now, in terms of left-wing activism,
you've run out of time, so you can't answer the question. So there you go. So maybe
everyone can look at the record of The Spectator.
Everybody can look at the record.
Incited racism against
Muslims. And you and I may return to this, but not on another forum. Tonight was not the night to deal with your lies and smears about me. So let's leave it and we move on. Owen Jones, thank you very much.